Well, I would like to start by congratulating the opening of the International Logistic Technology Seminar 2020. And today I want to talk about on-demand business innovation. I think the gist of my presentation is linked to Professor Shiva Raman's presentation. He mentioned about the evolution in mobility, and my presentation today is related to the insights of the mobility business. And after looking into those insights, I would like to talk about what kind of impact it will have on the logistics industry. I have been studying this topic of study for more than 5 years and 6 years now, and I think many of you are familiar with this topic. I've been considering what to speak in this presentation, so I wanted to, in some occasion, I deliver detailed information, and in some cases, I just briefly introduce the industry. However, in this presentation, I decided to share with you some details about the on-demand business innovation. Okay, let me now move on to my presentation. As you have heard from the previous presentation, the mobility business is very brisk all across the world. We have companies like Uber and also Grab and Gojek in Southeast Asia. And many firms such as McKinsey and other consulting firms are saying that car ownership in the future will disappear and it will be replaced by mobility services. And this is the prediction of many companies. So it seems that it is clear that mobility service industry will grow in the future. However, when it comes to the implication of the mobility service industry's growth, I think automakers will be it will be the industry that will be most hardly hit. So logistical robots and automotive industry and autonomous driving, all of these technologies combined, probably the notion of car ownership will disappear in the future. So in this kind of situation, many automakers are aspiring to develop autonomous driving technologies and connect vehicles with mobility services. So we are seeing a shift in conventional automotive industry. So in this regard, there is a question that we can raise. Uber is one of the representative companies in this field. So what's the difference between Uber and taxi? Are they fundamentally different? There have been some controversies in the Korean market. For example, in Korea, we have a service named Tada. And what's the difference between the conventional taxi industry and the mobility service industry represented by Tada in Korea? But we are not seeing much growth in the mobility service industry in Korea because there are concerns that mobility services will disrupt conventional industries. But can we try to upgrade the conventional industry together with the growth of mobility services? So I think these are some of the questions that we need to ask. If I ask these questions to people, when I ask people whether there is a difference between Uber and taxi, a lot of people say that the two are very much different. And when I ask what's the difference then, and many people say that the two mobility channels have a completely different customer experience. So from a customer experience standpoint, we cannot say that customer experience between the two channels are the same. We call these mobility services as mobility on-demand service. So consumers have the choice of taxis and buses and other public transportation modes. And on the right-hand side of the slide, there are differences in terms of payment and also parking and trip planning. As we shift towards mobility services, we are noticing these changes. So when we are using mobility services, we are not just taking a ride, but we are facing various kinds of choices when it comes to moving from one point to our ultimate destination. So this is the business model of on-demand services. On-demand services is about catering to the needs of consumers at the time where they want. So this is also linked to the scope of mobility services. In Indonesia and Southeast Asia, there is a company called Gojek, and Gojek doesn't only offer ride-sharing services, but it delivers everything from food, grocery, and it also offers courier service, and it also provides clothes washing services. So this company provides any kind of service wanted by the customers using their infrastructure and consumers' mobile phones. This company focuses on providing convenient services to their clients, and this provides great scalability to their business. And another company in Malaysia is taking the same approach, scaling up their businesses to multiple services. The same applies to Uber. Uber offers its basic main service. However, well, other than the ride-sharing service that has been growing very fast, they are launching new services such as food delivery service because the ride-sharing business is going down because of the COVID-19 crisis. And as its food delivery service is growing, it's rapidly chasing the market leader, which is DoorDash. So if they have the network, there is no reason that they cannot provide these kinds of last mile delivery services. And it is now launching its Uber freight services as well. So in this kind of situation, what can we learn? The mobility service business is scaling up rapidly, and I think we are all familiar with this kind of picture. In 2017, I published a report using this image. First mile logistics is about B2B businesses using ports and other logistical infrastructure. And then we moved on to the middle mile delivery and then to last mile delivery. Across this logistical chain, when we are offering mobility services to our customers, we are referring to last mile delivery services and extra mile delivery services that can significantly improve customer experience. So when we are hailing a taxi or when we are ordering washing services, these extra mile logistical services are required. And this can completely change customer experience. And now we are seeing proliferation of these business models. So in this kind of situation, the logistical industry can also undergo these changes. There are lots of on-demand services that can be offered by logistics companies. But what is problematic here is that there is a high level of uncertainty. And because of traffic congestion, if more motorbikes are traveling on the road, it can lead to environmental degradation. And if more customers are opting for on-demand services, they can enhance and add on to the existing uncertainties. So there are new services that we are seeing. Through mobility services, these companies, mobility service providers, are innovating the transportation industry. But will they be able to innovate the logistics industry? I think people in the logistics industries may be interested in on-demand logistics service. On-demand logistics service is expected to grow by 21% a year. And if you take a look at the bottom left, there are these companies like Lala Move and Bring and other last mile delivery service providers. And just like mobility services are being provided, probably more and more logistics company will be focusing on last mile delivery services. So what I'm trying to say here is that mobility business is totally changing customer experience. In the past, we had to go on the streets and raise our hand to hail a taxi. However, now customers can move to a point where they want to move to, the final destination, using a mobile map. And not only that, they are now enjoying all kinds of services through these mobility services. Then can we witness such change in the logistics industry? The shift towards on-demand services and mobility services, can we see such change? I think instead of changing the process of the logistics industry, I think we need a complete change of the business models of logistics companies. For example, there is a company called Convoy, which is a freight matching platform. And to collect sufficient data, Convoy offers a price quote service. When there is a request from a customer for a price quote service, normally this price quote service takes a lot of time from the customer side. However, Convoy, based on big data analysis, provides a guaranteed price to its customers. And because they are providing guaranteed price to the customers, from the company's perspective, these companies will be probably thinking that this is a unique and original service, and more shippers will be using this service, and this creates a new business model. In the past, there was a lot of demand for a spot cargo, but there are also different types of cargo shipping, such as monthly contracts and annual contracts, and Convoy provides these services as well. And because of its convenience, more and more shippers are using this service. And I also wrote a column about autonomous driving vehicles, and these data coming from autonomous driving vehicles can be used in many ways. For example, this company called Starsky Robotics tried to provide an intermediary service using the data collected from these autonomously driven vehicles. So we need to completely change the way we connect people and the way we operate our business. However, we also need to have a very flexible procedure at the back end. So let me put this into perspective by showing you this picture. This shows the traffic congestion in the Washington area, and the red lines are showing heavy traffic congestion. And during the day, traffic congestion level changes on each road. If we allocate trucks in the conventional way, we cannot really adjust to these changing situations. But Uber introduced a framework called surge pricing. In the past, taxis will be charging customers the same fare during the day aside from their nighttime fare. However, Uber is offering surge pricing to the customers, and dynamic pricing redistribute locations of Uber drivers. But this illustrates that conventional way of monthly contracts or annual contract cannot really cater to the changing demand of the customers. So we need to rethink how we sign contract with our partners. And we also need to change the way we optimize our work processes. I would like to show you two patents that we studied together with local companies. 5 years and 6 years ago, when we developed a navigation software in Europe, there were more than 300 million links, but it was kind of hard to find the route based on these 300 million links in a fast way. So we thought we need to optimize the route selection. So we calculated all routes, and through these kinds of pre-processing, we tried to calculate the shortest path. And actually this led to many good outcomes. However, the problem here in this previous model is that the speed on each route is changing real time, and customer demand is changing also very frequently. So pre-processing all these data is not possible. But now the world is changing. In the era of on-demand mobility services, we shouldn't approach these challenges in this way of pre-processing data. So what we came up with is what you see on the right-hand side of the slide. We attempted to analyze the route chosen by all drivers, and we call this data trajectory data. And using this trajectory data, we calculated the patterns of shortest path real time. And we offered multiple options to the users. So in this on-demand world, there is no fixed data. So optimization is not the right approach in this kind of a situation. We need to dynamically analyze the supply and demand of a service, and we need to be flexible in operating our business. Instead of creating a plan for the coming month, and instead of signing a monthly contract with our suppliers, of course, those kinds of efforts may be beneficial. However, we need to provide services that can offer better options and better alternatives to the users. So we need to have this kind of online optimization instead of a traditional way of optimization. And the quality of these services that are being newly developed is not really bad. Let's take a look at the mobile depot service provided by TNT Express. TNT Express is providing these last-mile delivery service in busy city centers. This is also contributing to a better environment. In Europe, there are regulations restricting the use of diesel cars. So this courier decided to use electric bicycles for their last-mile delivery. And this is the case of DHL. They are operating what they call DHL parcel buses in Berlin, and they are trying to respond to a surge in demand using these parcel buses. So on the left-hand side, you can see that these mobile facilities are being dynamically relocated according to people's demand. Well, these new approaches are leading to very positive results. But if you take a look at this example, Walmart created this kind of a pop-up center within its distribution centers. So in other words, when there is a surge in demand, they would be using these pop-up distribution centers, and if the demand goes down again, they will get rid of the pop-up distribution centers. So we call these services mobile depot and mobile facility services. And due to confidentiality issue, I cannot disclose the name of the customer, but we offered a standardization plan for these kinds of services for certain clients, and currently the plan is being implemented. So in this era of on-demand mobility services, we need flexible mobile facilities, and optimization of these mobile facilities should not follow the conventional way, the static way, and instead we need to have a dynamic adjusting approach. Based on data, we need to be able to adjust our plan according to the changes in demand. I have about 7 minutes left, so let me explain 2 more ideas. On-demand services are taking hold in mobility industry, and this is leading to new last-mile delivery services. For example, Amazon services are threatening the logistics industry in the last-mile sector, but can we really adopt the last-mile approach in the logistics industry? Can we really provide last-mile delivery services? Because this logistic business is different from taxi hailing services. There was a massive funding that was decided for Uber Freight, and there was a conference on this. And one of the questions raised during the conference was that really, is it possible for Uber to carry out this Uber Freight business because of the Uber Freight's difference with other services provided by Uber? Middle mile and first mile services may not be transformed to an on-demand service. And there are some people who say that it is possible. We are not so certain about the future, but if we want to transform customer experience in the logistics industry, we need to first derive more insights about the customers using data. And we also need to have a capacity to process data in a dynamic way. And we conducted a study last year, and there is a model called technology acceptance model. This technology acceptance model illustrates the acceptance level of customers on new technologies. B2C and B2B businesses are completely different. So last year, we thought of logistics robots. If there is something called logistics robots, will you use logistics robot? We asked this question to people, and the result was interesting. On the left-hand side, there are description of this result. The first variable was associated experience. People who had previous experience of using logistics automation facilities, such as logistics robots, they were willing to use logistics robots because they are well aware of its convenience. And if the logistics company is an innovative company, then the company will be able to use logistics robotics in an easier way. So the level of innovativeness of that company is correlated to the intention to adopt a new technology. However, if this company perceives this new technology as a threat, thinking that this platform service probably will replace the company's services, then this company will think that the usefulness of this logistics robots is not that high. And price efficiency was also linked to the adoption of new technologies. And one another factor was social influence. If there is a change in the social mood towards the technology, then the intention of use will also go up. But think about the COVID-19 situation. COVID-19 really shifted the last factor here, which is social influence. COVID-19 is forcing people to adopt new technologies. COVID-19 is creating a situation where companies have to adopt digital technologies. And because of this, companies' associated experience is going up, and companies' innovativeness level is also going up. Then it means the pace of new technology adoption will be accelerated. But what is important here is the convenience that these technologies provide should also go up. And it has to be easier to use. So it is important for companies to promote the fact that on-demand services, on-demand logistics services can actually provide greater convenience to the customers. So instead of focusing on the usefulness of the technology itself, we need to focus on how to make the use of that technology easier. The payment method should be much more simple, and user convenience should be the company's focus. Enhancing the quality of the technology itself comes next. So when there are questions about whether on-demand services will become prevalent in the logistics industry, I try to explain using this technology acceptance model. And as you can see from the left-hand side, many logistics companies are approaching this issue by adopting a hub-and-spoke model, but only when we utilize the sharing economy model together with these models can work. One good example is Coupang. Coupang's delivery partners are regular workers, regular full-time workers, but Coupang Flex employees are part-time workers. And because they have these two different systems, Coupang's entire system is working efficiently. Let me explain the concept of physical internet. Physical internet is about different logistics companies connecting their distribution flow together. So what is important is standardization here. Using a standardized container, we can make cargo handling easier and more efficient. And through these partnerships with other companies, we can promote the growth of on-demand services in the logistics industry. Well, our transition into on-demand services in the logistics industry is inevitable. Of course, there can be regulations that hinder this transition. However, in the decade to come or in 2 decades, this change, I believe, is inevitable. So if that is true, then we need to approach our customers with a digital business model and have a flexible capacity. So with that, I would like to finish my presentation. Thank you very much.